The start of the 2022 season looked very promising to Sergio Perez as he performed much closer to Verstappen. Perez's absolute high point came when he managed to win the rain race in Monaco. After the race, the gap between teammate and championship leader Verstappen and Sergio was just 15 points. With 3 1-2 finishes for Red Bull this season, Perez has so far been the ultimate driver next to Verstappen. But this might only be for a short time. After the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, Perez scored 2 DNFs in 5 races and performed poorly in the French and Hungary Grand Prix. When the race asked Sergio why he seems to have more difficulties getting good performance out of the car recently, he responded that he hasn't been as comfortable with the development of the car as he was in the beginning of the season. Even more troublesome is the response from Helmut Marko in an interview with Motorsport.com. In the interview, Helmut was asked if Red Bull develops the car to Verstappen's wishes. He responded, "Eventually, the goal is to make the car as fast as possible so we can get the maximum performance out of it. With a car that suits Max better, the Verstappen factor is automatically enhanced." If you have a driver of such extraordinary talent in your team, it is very important to get the most out of him. The updates have brought extra front grip, which is something Verstappen complained about in the beginning of the season. However, we also know that Perez likes a more loose front car and more stable rear, whereas Verstappen doesn't care about the rear. Marko is very clear who is their number 1 driver and how they will develop their car. But what about Perez? Does Red Bull treat him fairly? Why did he drive so good at the beginning of the season? Can Perez adapt to the new characteristics of the car? And is he ever capable of challenging Verstappen to win a world title? Let's find out. Perez started his Formula One career in 2011 at the legendary team of Sauber. Great drivers like Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, Charles Leclerc, Robert Kubica, and Felipe Massa all started their careers at Sauber. Perez was off to a great start as he finished 7th in his first race ahead of his teammate Kobayashi. Unfortunately, they both were disqualified due to an illegal rear wing. He ended his first season 16th behind his teammate. However, Perez showed in 2012 that he is a great, talented driver. In 2012, he managed to score 3 podium finishes and ended 10th in the Drivers' Championship ahead of his teammate. His aggressive driving style mixed with great tire management got him a promotion to McLaren to replace Lewis Hamilton, who went to Mercedes. Unfortunately, the MP428 was far from competitive, and Perez's best result was a 5th place. At the end of the year, it became clear that he would move to Force India. During his years at Force India, Perez was deemed a reliable and consistently scoring driver. Instead of going for impossible gaps, he would make more calculated moves. His tire management is one of the best of the grid, and many great results were achieved by him managing his tires better than the competition. From 2015 to the end of the 2020 season, Perez has always beaten his teammates in the Drivers' Championship. Whereas his teammates were far from achieving podium finishes, Sergio often outperformed the car and managed to score 1 or more podium finishes with a car that wasn't good enough to regularly fight for podium places. Despite his great results in mediocre cars, it was at the end of the 2020 season that it became clear that Lawrence Stroll made the decision that Perez had to make room for Sebastian Vettel. Many fans and experts were shocked and furious at Lawrence Stroll, owner of Aston Martin, for backing up his son Lance Stroll, while Perez outperformed him by a lot. Luckily for Perez, Red Bull had a driver's problem of their own. They contracted Perez in the hope that he would perform closer to Verstappen in qualifying and in the race. If Red Bull ever wanted to make a chance to win the Constructors' and Drivers' Championship, they needed someone who could take away points from the competition. Although Perez definitely did better than Verstappen's previous teammates, with the best example of Perez showing to be the master of defense at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the gap was still significant. But why? The Red Bull RB16B was developed to have extreme forms of high front grip and a loose rear end. This is a much preferred driving setup of Verstappen and has been part of the Red Bull DNA for many years. Sebastian Vettel's driving style opted for a very sharp turning response as he would brake late and turn his steering wheel sharply. Key to this technique was loads of front grip. The high rake that Adrian Newey used since 2009 also impacted the stability of the car and rear end. The high rake concept allowed for more air volume underneath the car and improved the downforce levels of the diffuser. This created a stable and predictable car. After Sebastian Vettel left Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo became the number 1 driver. Opposite of Vettel, he actually brakes early but still prefers a sharp rotating and stable car. Ricciardo and Verstappen have similar driving styles, so when Verstappen joined Red Bull in 2016, the car development tailored completely to a brake-early driving style. Perez, however, was used to a brake-late driving style in his last season at Racing Point in 2020. In a video from Windsor, he showed that Perez brakes later in almost all corners, but therefore has to wait longer to get on the throttle again. A late braking strategy is often deployed when a car is understeering due to a lack of front grip. However, the Red Bull in 2021 provided enough front grip that a brake-early strategy often outperformed Perez's driving style. But why was Perez performing so well in the early part of the 2022 season? The current generation car saw the biggest rule change in over 40 years. With the introduction of the Venturi effect, cars now want to have floors coming as close to the floor as possible to maximize downforce levels. The introduction of the Venturi tunnel saw the end of the high rake concept. If you look at the floors of the cars, you would see that they are all flat. The new regulations also reduce the amount of front and rear downforce and increase the importance of downforce generated through the floor. All these regulation changes resulted that the RB18 started the year with a lack of front downforce and front rotation. The car would understeer more when braking early due to higher mid-corner speeds. To help rotating the car, a late braking driving style would work much better. And who provided to be very good at this driving strategy? Exactly, Sergio Perez. By braking later, Perez would increase the front load of the tires and help increase grip levels. These enhanced grip levels would then help Perez rotate the car and allows them to go on the throttle quicker. In the beginning of the season, Verstappen often complained that his car lacks front grip. He frequently pushed his team to develop upgrades to match the characteristic of last year's car. The large upgrades introduced in Imola, Spain, and more recently Silverstone have been able to fix most of the understeering issues. After the Austrian sprint race, Verstappen was asked whether the upgrades are specifically designed after him. I think in general, we always try to make the car faster. Of course, I say what I would like for my car in general, but the upgrades on the car are not specifically designed around me. However, Marco's recent words do imply that the updates have been designed specifically for Verstappen. Yes, we made changes to the car to make the car more to Verstappen's liking. Perez therefore may be fallen back to his old level, but it isn't easy to be Verstappen's teammate. Verstappen has been faster than ever before after he won the World Championship last year. So if Red Bull is aiming their development to favor Verstappen, will Perez ever have a chance to win a world title himself? Assuming that Red Bull is capable of developing a championship-winning car, Perez only has a chance if he can adopt a similar driving style like Verstappen. However, Verstappen has been practicing and perfecting his early brake driving style at Red Bull since 2016. Sergio still prefers to brake as late as possible and work with a slightly understeering car that has a stable rear end. As Ricciardo has proven at McLaren, it can be very difficult to successfully change your driving style. Interesting is that the McLaren car seems to suit Perez's driving style much better, whereas the Red Bull suits Ricciardo's driving style better. Both drivers currently experience problems with feeling comfortable in the car. Ricciardo has never been able to properly adjust his driving style to the car, which resulted in a big performance gap between him and Lando Norris. This ultimately led to McLaren wanting to get rid of Ricciardo. It is crucial that Perez learns to adapt and use similar setups like Verstappen. After the Hungary qualifying session, Helmut Marko already said that Perez is not allowed to have his own setup anymore, but that he has to follow Verstappen's. Nonetheless, Christian Horner, team boss of Red Bull, is still happy with Sergio's services. But as we know in the world of Formula One, you are only as good as your last race. Do you think Perez is able to adapt his driving style? Do you think he will end in a similar position as Ricciardo? Let me know in the comment section below.